everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we are going live to paint our beautiful feathers and arrow cross. And I'm doing something a little bit different today. Normally I have the whole trace already done, and I realized I was explaining a lot and working a lot of stuff out that you might just want to actually watch and participate in so that you could learn this process too. So I'm starting a little bit differently today. We're going to go ahead and do the trace first. So I've got the tools here. And let me go ahead and talk about all of our equipment really quick. So of course the kit comes with beautiful paint that is very thick and heavy bodied. And then also a little brush kit here. We've got Mama, and then we have Little Buddy, and then Little Bit. And then of course it comes with a canvas and either templates or a traceable. Either one works really well. And then of course I've got my paint, some of my paint already started, so I've got like little paint plates out, some of my paint out. And of course I always keep a bucket of water nearby over here. So got that going. Hello, hello, welcome. Okay, so our templates look like this, very cool, very fun. And I'm gonna show you how I actually get started with this process. And I've got really cute little shapes, so you can kind of see how this works. All right, so here we go. We've got fun little feather and a little tiny rose, and then also a cute little butterfly. So that's very nice. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and, let's see, we will kind of eyeball this, center it here, and howdy, thank you so much, you too. Have an amazing day. All right, so pardon me for, I may have the back of my head to you for a little bit just because of this hole. This is a little different than what I normally do. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I think that's kind of centered. Let's move it a little bit more this way. I guess I could take a ruler. Let's be type A, shall we? Okay, so let's see here. This is 11, and then let's do this. Almost, let's see, let's get it right there. And then, all right, so I need to shift this just a wee bit. All right, now we're good. Okay, so see, that helped. All right, because that would have bothered me later, especially looking at the wall. It would have been like a little bit off to one side. All right, so what I do here first is I go ahead and, especially here in the midsection, there's a lot of stuff happening in the foreground, so I don't want the Sharpie to bleed through that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do pencil here in this midsection first. Because I've got the model behind me and you can see how there's a lot of layering happening there. So I reference this a lot just by discussion, but I really haven't shown you how I work it out first. So I thought, well, this will be helpful. Okay, so that's about all I need to do in pencil to begin with, because we'll have to do a little bit of erasing when we kind of back out some of those lines with things that happen more in the foreground. So then from here on, I can go ahead and work out the rest of this with my Sharpie, because there's nothing interrupting this space. It's all free and clear. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little outline with Sharpie. So I'll do that first, because this is definitely the part where I do want a hard line edge. Well, eventually I'll have it all with hard line edge, because I definitely like for it to just bleed through the paint so that I preserve everything that I have traced. Okay, and then while I'm talking about this, let me just say too that there's another way to do this too, where you can actually just, if you're painting at home, you can actually paint the whole background first, and then you can do this part of the tracing over the top as well. So that is also another option. That's really hard for me to do that live, because then I would just be sitting around for like 15 minutes waiting for it to dry. And so since I can't do that, I just go ahead and do this. That way, it's kind of like a little cheat. All right, so I've got this positioned in, and these are my two little arrows here that crisscross to make this really beautiful cross shape. All right, so that's a pretty good start. So there's the first part. Okay, and then, let's see, okay, so here's the deal on the roses. You can use this, it's absolutely great. Beginners cling to these like, oh no, don't take my rose template away. I love it, but honestly, it's just nothing more than just a little lumpy circle. So we always give that to you as a little piece of comfort if you need it. However, I always strongly encourage people to just take your pencil and draw roses, and the reason why is so that you can have a lot more flexibility with sizing and positioning those in. So I'm going to start here by just doing a little rose. So it's just a circle, but again, kind of lumpy. And then, let's see, I'm going to do one here. And then let's do another one here. All right, because essentially that's all there is to it, because we're just going to paint into those shapes, and then we're going to teach you a really wonderful pattern that comes in over the top that really helps make those pop out and look more like roses. And then I've got little feathers. Now I do really enjoy the feather template. So let's see. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and start with pencil first. We'll come back in with the Sharpie here in a little bit. So I've got my little feather here. And let's do like one of these up here, kind of have it, a little bit of it tucked behind that rose. All right, and then we'll flip it over to the other side, and then we'll do one over here. And then we can just go up a little bit even and just have, like, let's just, see, I've kind of got a duplicate, or you can come down lower too. It's kind of up to you how you want to do that, but I'm gonna come up a little bit higher. So there's one that's just barely tucked behind there. As such, I don't know if I want to do this one. I'm gonna leave it just like that. Hello, Alexis, welcome. Okay, and let's see, now I've got some butterflies that are kind of peeking around. I'm gonna go ahead and add in some leaves here. Now I'm just freehanding these so they kind of look like the letter V, but kind of curvy. Let me show you that turned upside down. So it feels more like the letter V like that. So if you do it like that, see how that's just like writing the letter V, but with a little bit of a curve to it. So sometimes if you just need to turn your canvas just a wee bit there so that you can feel more of that feeling of it being like that, to connect it with your brain, it works a lot better. Hello, welcome, welcome. All right, so I'm gonna do a few more leaves here. Another way to do really fun, simple leaves is just to make what looks like parentheses, parentheses. Okay, parentheses, parentheses, and then you can make some small. Let's see, and I think, let's go ahead and do a few more. All right, so we're pretty good on that. And then I've got my little butterfly template, which definitely comes in handy because a lot of people do not know how to draw a butterfly. Whoa, all right, there I go. I still got it. I'm not quite used to doing all this drawing in front of y'all, so I may kind of stumble over some things. Okay, so I've got my little butterfly here. And let's go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and firm that up with Sharpie right away, since I know there's nothing to work out with foreground. So we'll just go ahead and position that one in there. And then let's do one more over here. And you can, of course, just go nuts with more butterflies if you want. Kind of sprinkle them all over. I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at it going, gosh, you could do all kinds of fun things with the butterflies. You could actually even put one in the center if you wanted to, or, I mean, there's just, you could have lots of fun with that. Okay, so now we know we've got some things worked out with what's in the foreground, what's behind. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase these lines here, that cross section that comes behind the roses, because all of our roses are out in front. So I'll go ahead and erase that. That won't need to be there anymore. And then I'll erase this little section. And then this one. Got a little bit happening there behind that leaf. All right, so now it's awesome. So now I can go ahead and do my hard lines now around all these shapes. So these are my roses. These will stay out in front. And then of course I've got my little leaves here. So this will help me later, especially when I do the overpaint over the top. Again, I know this will bleed through, so I won't lose all this hard work that I just did. And as always, just a reminder, you can always do all your base painting first and then come back in over the top with all of your tracing, especially if you don't like the hard line look. I like it, it's just a really fun stylized look, but some people like a softer line edge and a softer look. So that is completely up to you. These again are our little feathers here. Yay! Okay, so we have all of our tracing done. Now I can go ahead and work in like a little center line here with our feathers. Let's go ahead and do that too. And then in this particular design, there's a little bit of a stripe action happening, so I'm going to go ahead and do that across, and I just kind of freehand that through. And I don't even really like for the line to be completely straight. I like for just a little bit of a wave to it, because that's how it would naturally occur anyway with the feather. It wouldn't be absolutely perfect. And then this guy, let's see, let's kind of have it coming at a different, more of a diagonal there. That's just that one side of the feather popping through. Okay, so now we have a beautiful start. All the tracing's done, and we just used our beautiful little templates here, so that made it really easy. We'll also be making, we've got a traceable kit online too, so it just comes at you with basically what I do on that one. Oh wait, let me do this too. Little reference of the rose there. I'm going to paint over that, but it just kind of helps you know what that is. So basically with the traceable, I actually take a photograph of this, and I'm actually pretty detailed. Like I'll even do all the details in here, way more intricate, and then I'll actually take a picture of that, and then I make sure it's real. I clean it up in Photoshop to make sure it's a hard line image, and then basically then you can use our graphite paper that we provide with, you know, for you, and then you just transfer it over. I have another video on how to do that too. So also a very fun and easy technique, because we're all about fun and easy. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and paint through the background. So I'm going to go ahead and use a pretty big brush here. And this is my 3/4 inch, I call them Big Daddy. So I've got Big Daddy with me today. And I'm going to go ahead and just do a really nice light gray. Now you can add a little bit of warmth to it if you want, so I'll give you some options. But big dollop of white, and then just a really tiny touch of the black. So I'm going to go ahead and push that into the mix, and that will give me a light gray. Now if I want to do a little bit of some warmth to it, I can add just a tiny little hint of some primary yellow. Teeny amount is all that is required, so barely touch into that. And then that will push through and give me a little bit of a taupe. Just kind of warms it up a little bit. Or you can just stay very cool, neutral with that. See, the primary yellow brings in some creamy undertones, a little bit of a warmer feel to it. If you want to keep it more cool, then you can just do white and that tiny amount of black, and that will keep it more of a light, cool gray. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and sweep this through the background here. All right, so here we go. We're gonna sweep through the background, just back and forth, nice horizontal strokes. And to keep it from getting too choppy at all, basically you can just go all the way through, just sweep it and don't lift off on the brush until you're all the way across. And if you happen to forget, like right now I'm doing short strokes, which is fine, but then ultimately when I finish, I want to go ahead and do one good solid sweep all the way through, and that keeps it very smooth. And I can touch into little bits of the creamier tones as I push this through. And then I can also go into the cooler tones of just the white and the black, and then just push that all the way through. And then even picking up just lighter, brighter, just pure white too, and pushing that through also really helps too. That's just a nice highlight in there. Hi Donna, thank you so much. Oh, hey Terry, I just now noticed you up there. Welcome everybody, and all these people who I can't see. Hello, hello. And thank you so much, miss your smiling face as well. All right, so we're gonna keep sweeping this through. And let's pick up a little bit more white this time. So it's really nice and light and neutral. All right, so I'm pushing into a little bit of, let me show you my plate here real quick too. All right, so still pushing into a little bit of the black, a lot of white. It's always mostly white here, usually on my backgrounds, because I try to keep it light and bright. And so I'm just pushing back and forth here, getting that light mix of the gray. Nice side sweep all the way across. All right, so this is quite lovely. And then I made sure that I had a nice fluid stroke all the way across. No choppiness. Okay, so we're good. All right, so that's my background. All right, my next step will be to go ahead and push down some of the color that happens for my roses. So I will be using some primer magenta. Water break. That looked kind of weird. And give me water, hold on. Pardon me while I just drink some water in front of y'all. So, okay, here we go. Primary magenta, let's start again on that. And then I still have a lot of white nearby, and now I'm going to be picking up my Mama brush. So here's Mama. Let's push into a little bit of that white and then a little bit of the magenta. And then I will go ahead and push into this rose. Of course, I'm also picking up some of that background too, which is also lightening up that rose quite a bit. So big lumpy circles to begin with, and this is just that color blocking stage. No pattern just yet. All right, so just kind of pushing on little half circles all the way around there. Hi Cindy, welcome. Okay, so now what I want to do, normally I would just kind of go and do something. Go ahead and work on the roses just a little bit longer. I'm going to put Mama off into the water, let her rest a little bit. And something about that too, make sure that you always push your brushes off into the water. You don't have to push them, but you don't have to push your brushes around. That sounded funny. But put your brushes into the water. If you do not have a chance to clean them right away, do that, because I see a lot in painting classes where people will take their brush and they'll just have a big bunch of paint on it. They'll just sit it on their plate and let it sit there for hours while they talk. And it will harden and dry and turn their brushes into a stick, which is kind of hard to paint with. So you just want to make sure that just let them rest in the water and then rinse them out. All right, so that's where they need to rest, is in the water, like taking a nice little bath. Okay, so now what I want to do is go ahead and push in a little bit of white over the top of my roses here. So I'm going to grab a little bit brush and some white paint. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of push right on. Almost it feels like a little parentheses, is the basic shape of it, like that. And so I'll just do that in a circular pattern starting on the outside, and then I will come into the center. So again, outside. So again, it feels like a little half circle or like a little parentheses. Take it all the way around. Little half circle here. All right, so that's a great foundation, and could even just be the way you leave it if you want to just be really simple about it. I do add one more layer here. I'm going to come in with the same brush a little bit. So I'm going to wash out my brush, dry it off. Then I'm going to come in with my little bit brush again. And now the darkest color here. So I've got my magenta, and I'll do one little spot right in the middle. That's that little shadow right in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my little half circles. So it's a repeat of the same pattern. Feels the same as what we just did, but this time I'm coming in with the darkest shade. And you'll also get a little soft blend into that paint. My doggy's having a dream. Can you hear her? She's dreaming. She's probably running through a field, chasing a squirrel. Having so much fun. There's my little spot, little half circle. Nice soft blend in there. And if you ever just get in there and it just looks a little too heavy-handed with one shade over the other, for example, if it just looks a little too dark, you can always come back in with the white and vice versa. So you can kind of play with it a little bit. Okay, there's our little spot. And then do a little half circle. Alrighty. Okay, so there are our roses. Pretty neato. Okay, so now I want to do, what do I want to do next? Let's go ahead and do the cross next. Okay, so it's just going to be pretty basic with the black. All right, so I've got my little buddy brush here, and just push back and forth there into the paint. And just follow that little line right there and get real close, and then I'll come the other direction. And then I've got that diagonal line there, and then there. This is also a good time where you could let this set up and dry, paint at home. You could certainly let this set up and dry, and then just use a Sharpie. This is what I talked about earlier. Very easy. So you could just use a Sharpie at this stage when the paint's dry. You've done all your background. And then you've got that nice hard line to work into. And the only reason I would do that, except for that it just doesn't work with a live show very well because of the timing. Because we would just be hanging out, not doing anything for a while. Watching the paint dry, as they say, which is kind of not a really fun activity. It's not very fun. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it could be if we just found something fun to talk about. All right, so still positioning those outlines. This is also an area where you certainly could come in, and if you have a ruler nearby, it can be very helpful for doing line edges. You can always run your paintbrush just right along the line edge too of a ruler. The caution I will give you on that though is if you do that, just make sure that you completely dry it off before you move it to another section and use it again, or else you'll just mark up your canvas with black lines and lots of places where you do not want a black line. So that's the tricky part. All right, so I've got a little bit of black right in there. And I'll be coming back in to fill this in a minute here. Arrow. Follow your arrow. Y'all remember that? I think that's maybe how this painting was born. That famous country western song by, well, her Instagram handle is Spacey Casey. So I guess her name's probably Casey. I think it's Casey Musgraves or something like that, I think. All right, I'm gonna grab a bigger brush to do these longer line edges, and then I'll come back in a minute and do the fill-in work here. But I'm back to Mama. Push back and forth, nice thin line edge. All right, so, pardon me, I've got a little bit of a glare. I'm having a hard time seeing my line. The film light's kind of interesting. There we go. And then, can't remember if I said it on this run, but you can notice that I'm constantly pressing down on my pinky to help stabilize my hand. It's a great trick. So when you want a steady hand, you can just kind of rest the weight of your hand on your pinky. Helps you manipulate your other fingers in a way that it can do some more intricate moves, but it's just really kind of helps keep it steady. You just got to watch where you put that pinky. Make sure you don't put it down into wet paint, which I've done a little bit of that in here, but it's okay. It's nothing too unforgivable. All right, so we've got a really nice head start there on all the line work around that. So now we can just start filling in. And it's going to get kind of tight in here pretty quick. This is still fairly big here at the bottom, so I can go ahead and continue using my Mama brush down here. Well, and I can always use it like this on the line edge, but see, I'm getting a lot of brush strokes in there, and I want to smooth that out. So it is now time to switch brushes. Okay, so I'm going to put Mama in the water, and then let's go ahead and switch over to a little Betty brush to where I can use the flat side of it more. And let me tell you what else is helpful. Let's go ahead and turn the canvas over to the side. And see, this way I can just push that through in more of a horizontal positioning. Makes it a lot easier to go ahead and do this stroke. This is also an easier way to make a nice straight line too. So I don't know why that is, but for some reason it's easier to do a horizontal line like this as opposed to pulling it down. That really requires much more of a steady hand. So if you're debating on which way to position it to help make it easier on you, go ahead and turn it to the horizontal position, and then that will help a lot. That's a big nice tip there. All right, so now got a little bit more of this to do. And then I could switch it now, because now we're just moving on to different things. Hey, thank you. All right, so just filling in now. And see, this is more of that horizontal stroke that needs to come in, so I definitely needed to turn the canvas over to this direction to help me out now with this section. And the thing you have to watch out for with black is sometimes it gives you that peekaboo with the transparency, a little bit of a dry brush. So sometimes the answer is just picking up a little bit more paint and just very gentle hand holding that brush more parallel to the canvas. That's definitely the way to approach it, especially if you've got the canvas in any kind of a vertical position like what I have here. You can also add a little tiny amount of water to your brush and the black to help it be a little bit more fluid and have better coverage over the top surface area, but you must have the canvas in the flat position before you do that, or else you could get a water run. So we do not want you getting a water run, so that's an important little thing to remember. When I do teach classes in studio, we're usually on an easel, so then I always tell people, I just tell them to squeegee all the water out of their brush and make it just moist, just to always be on the safe side. But when I teach in this setting where you've got the flexibility to change it to where it can be tabletop version, I try to allow for a lot more flexibility with that, because work with water and acrylics can actually be quite magical if it's flat. It can be super magical if it's flat. But yeah, the other way can be kind of scary, get some interesting, well, you know, just depends on how you look at it. Could turn into something quite abstract and expressive, expressionistic, maybe. Or you could at least tell everybody that you meant to do it that way when it happens. Just say, oh, I meant to do it that way. Yeah, that water run, that's, yeah, I meant for that to happen. Isn't it pretty? So, you know. Okay, so we have our black done now with our beautiful little arrow. And if you do want to add a little bit of warmth to it with some different shading, some fun things that you can do, you can come in with like a little bit of some cadmium red here. And I'll just kind of show you. This is pretty subtle, but you can kind of position this down here at the base. I'm just pushing on some cadmium red on one half. So it kind of lightly blends in with the black, but it warms it up to almost just a little bit of a rust. And then the more black that gets pushed into the mix of it can almost turn it to more of a brown too. But that's kind of a fun way to add, you know, some different accents to this cross here. So let's go ahead and do little touches of the cadmium red. Kind of lightly feather that on. All right, so very pretty. I ran out of cadmium, so I dipped into the magenta. Did a quick little accent there too. Kind of like it. I don't know, I just kind of want to see what that was like. All right. All right, hold on, fan time. It's getting hot back here. I'm in the sunroom, and for a while it's like, I don't know. It gets, some of you out there will know what I'm talking about, but it gets chilly, and then I have a hot flash, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's super hot in here. And then I go back to being chilly again, and I'm just, you know, life, getting older, so wonderful. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and do some, let's do some of this beautiful feather here. All right, so I'm going to do, you know what, let's mix that brown. Let's mix up some brown here. So I've got my kind of cream base happening in the feathers. So I want some more of that beautiful cadmium red. And then I've already got lots of black nearby, so we'll push into that. Okay. All right, so little buddy brush. And then we've got a mix of the cadmium red, little touch of black. Let's put those two together until we get some brown. All right, black and cadmium red. Beautiful. There it is. There's our brown. So again, mix almost equal parts on that of the cadmium red and the black. And I'm just using my little buddy brush there. And so I'm going to go ahead and push this into the little stripe of my feather. And I will tell you, it's going to look a little bit, well, very raw and unfinished until I actually get more of the black outlining work done over the top as a final touch. So at the beginning, it still looks a little weird. So I've got my little stripes now. One more here. And then I have the same stripe thing happening over here. But I did kind of shift the direction of it just a wee bit. So I made it a little bit more like a diagonal. All right, so that's a great foundation first. Now I'm going to take the same brush, but I'll push into a little bit more of the black. Press back and forth. Check my edge there. It's still nice and thin, so I've got my line edge here. I'm going to do that center line right through the middle. And then, so I did little downward curve strokes to do a little feathering at the top. And then I'll take this all the way down for a nice line edge. All right, so that's starting to make it pop like a feather again. Line edge all the way down. All right, so that is looking fabulous. Okay, and now we've got little fun green leaves to do. So I'm going to come back in with my little bit brush. And then I also need some beautiful green. So I love meridians. I'm going to add a little bit more of that. And then let's go ahead and get some other fun greens, just to kind of touch into for a little bit of mix. So I've got cadmium green. And just in case, we also have some bright yellow green. Okie dokie. Okay, so now, little bit brush. Oh, and I've got my white nearby too, so I can always add that little bit of white to my Viridian. That lightens it up a little bit. So that kind of makes almost a really beautiful, like, hint of turquoise, well, actually a little more teal, but very pretty. So that's a nice mix, and you can touch into a little bit of that green too. And then I'll start with the basic stroke here around the leaf. So again, it kind of almost feels like that little parentheses and then parentheses, and just fill it in. Alright, that little point there, and then now these leaves, those big ones, they're a little more fuller, kind of call my voluptuous V leaves. They look like the letter V, and that's what they feel like when you make them too. And a V. Set a little bit of the lighter green. All right. So I am loving this, but I want to have a little bit more of like the darker Viridian that comes around to define in between. So I'm going to hit it one more time here in the middle. Kind of helps separate them out a little bit. So it's a little bit of an outline. Sometimes I even do black, but in this case I'm wanting to be a little bit more subtle with it. So just coming back in with that little hint of Viridian right in the middle. Just a nice little accent. Very lovely. Okay, fun little leaves. And then I've got really fun little butterflies up there that we still need to do. All right, so my butterflies, I've got kind of, sometimes I have a mix of, I go back and forth between some magenta and the cadmium red. So we'll do a little bit of that here today too. So I've got my cadmium red here and my magenta over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this solid color. By the way, still using my little bit brush. And sometimes the brush gets a little thick because the paint, see how it's starting to fill in the belly of the brush. So I need to do a little, put my little bit on a workout program. Twist it out. Get her thin back down. There, took away her little belly. Wish it was that easy for all of us. It's just like, oh, there it is. Yeah. Speaking of those, my goodness. See, we normally do keto around here and we all carved out with COVID. This is like the end of the world diet. We call it end of world carbohydrate diet. We just carved out completely. Put on, I don't know, 15 pounds. Something like that. I don't know, who's counting? So we're trying to get back on the elliptical again and, you know, back to eating no carbs. Bye-bye bread, pizza, sweets, cheesecake, wedding cake. All right, so I'm doing that little outline, and it's seeing a lot of textural little brush strokes in here. So then I want to come back in over the top and just do light strokes on the side of the brush, and that'll help smooth out those other brush strokes in there. Gives me a light hand, smoother finish. All right, so beautiful little butterfly there. And again, I'm still mixing a little bit of this primary magenta and the cadmium red. So just push those two together. I gotta twist out that paint a little bit. So we'll get that outline knocked out first. And then we'll just smooth it out right in the middle. There. That's kind of what I want. Got one little rascally brush on the end of this, or little bristle that's sticking up. It's causing me a little bit of some fits. Extend it out on the top of that wing right there, so I had to kind of rein it back in, smooth it back out. All right, so now I want to smooth out the brush stroke, so I pick up a little bit more paint, flat side of the brush, and then just lightly apply the paint parallel to the canvas, how I hold the brush. That gives me a light, gentle hand. Yay! That is super beautiful. All right, and you can add a little detail to that butterfly too. That little center body, that will really help out. So, I'm gonna come back in, clean a little bit brush here, and just a little touch of black. And then on this, with the body, I basically just do like, I'm gonna start with one line right in the middle. And you can actually keep it just that simple to begin with. So again, just one line. Let's start with that. Again, you can leave it just like that. I'm gonna touch in for the little tiny head here. I wanna do handle, dot. See, there's a little top of the head there. And you can leave it just like that, or if you do want to thicken up the body just a teeny amount, you can. So again, make sure your brush is really thin, so do a little twist into that black paint. And then on either side here, you can just do a little tiny parentheses. And then a little tiny parentheses. And see, that just kind of fills out the body just like that. But it was pretty the way it was before too. So either way, see, it's pretty both ways. You know, it's just kind of a different style. So, all right, I'm coming back in with a little bit, and I'm gonna do a few little more feather strokes in here. Just kind of like little diagonal lines that go in like a downward stroke here at the top. Just a little bit more of that feathering. I watch my hand so that I don't end up pushing it somewhere where I don't want it to go. Careful there. All right, I think, oh gosh, I think I'm done. This is pretty amazing. Okay, If you wanted to, I know on here I did a little bit more detail work on the leaves to where I did some of my black outline work, so I will show you a little bit of that too, just as an option. So again, little bit brush, little black, and of course you can always come back in and just do a real gentle little center line. It's kind of an option there. Really delicate. And then I chose to not really, at first I was thinking, oh, I can just, you know, come in with a darker Viridian and just make that my outline. You can just leave it like that, but if you do like the look of a very delicate black line, you can also do that too. So I'm going to give you just a few here that kind of show you what that would look like. So it's just a little bit more definition, just a light sketch. It's super subtle. I don't even know if you can really tell the difference. So again, really subtle difference there, but you can come back in and reinforce more of those lines there. Hi Rhonda, thank you so much. The comment is, I love all your hats. Yeah, I change it up, makes it fun, makes it interesting. Plus, it always helps for, you know, bad hair days. So much forgiveness with hats. You just, oh, I'll just put a hat on that. So, you know, I love them. They're awesome. Oh my gosh. I went to a wedding this last weekend. I was not able to wear a hat. It was so weird. I felt very hatless, very strange. Because I'm a hat person. I love to wear them like almost every day. I think they're so fun. Yeah. That, or I'm known for the scrunchie. You know, I just push my hair up in a scrunchie and just be done with it. Thank you so much. Oh gosh. Okay, well, we're done with our painting. That was so fast. I'm kind of amazed. That was a really quick painting. So, yeah. Aw. I have to go to work now. That's no fun. Well, I will see y'all tomorrow, I think. What is tomorrow, Friday? I may not. You know, I actually have a studio show tomorrow, so I'm going to be teaching in the studio tomorrow. So I will not probably see you tomorrow. We'll be doing a lot of prep for that. But Saturday, I have another live painting, I think at 12:30. So, oh no. Hi, Jamie. That's no good. Well, here's the good news. I will leave it up for you forever. So you can come back and paint with this anytime. I'll also post it on YouTube right after this. So either way, whatever's easier. I'm trying to make sure I have everything downloaded and put over on YouTube as well, because the beautiful thing about YouTube, it's very easy to put on your TV. All the smart TVs now have the YouTube icon, so you can just push that, find me, and then make it really big and watch me there. So that's a lot easier. I think it's easier interface to deal with than Facebook for getting it on your TV. Facebook's kind of challenging with that kind of TV, that transition, but YouTube's super easy. So yeah, super helpful. So I hope you get to feeling better. And hi, Megan. Howdy, howdy. All right, so y'all have a beautiful rest of the day, and we will see you for sure Saturday, if I don't surprise you with the spontaneous thing tomorrow, but for sure Saturday. We'll see you then. Y'all have a great day.